An old trading pit trick for spotting market turns. A very good evening to you traders. This is Mark. Welcome to your daily trading video. A little bit late one today, but has been a very, very busy day. Huge gap down, half an hour drive, and then that was it. And then we just was stuck in an up channel. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is specifically how do you segment off your day. And I got this idea many years ago. I think it was from a book or it was from a webinar or something. And do you know what? I've since then I've realised loads of pit traders do this, loads of other day traders do this, and it's a really good tool. I really would recommend it, or a good strategy. I really recommend it. Okay, what I've got here is I've got a SPY ETF, which is the ETF of the S&P 500. Now, I'm only using this because it's an easy way on these charts to show the gap, because it does it from the US Stock Exchange open to the US Stock Exchange close. So we don't get clouded in with all the overnight stuff, which is a separate topic altogether. So what I like to do is segment my day off. And this is something, as I say, the pit traders used to do. The time's a little bit different, but this is what's working at the moment. Now, if I use this little tool here, which I found on TradingView, you can just go and download it. Basically, I segment the day off into 5. So the first important part of the day is the 2:30 until 3 o'clock time. This is UK time, by the way. 2:30 till 3 o'clock. Now, why is that important? That's important because that's the opening half an hour. Everyone's getting stuff done. Everyone's scrambling around. It's the opening orders all being done. And also, 3 o'clock often is the time that we get some data. So that's the first period that we're looking at. The second period is 3 till 4:30. Okay, now why is that important? Because 4:30 is the European close. And as we've seen before in previous videos, 4:30 is often the time we get a turning point in the market, or we get an extreme of a trend. It's the final kind of push of the trend. The third zone I like to look at is the 4:30 till 7:30 zone. Now that's like a lunchtime choppy period. Not always, but often you're going to get a trend that's continuing with low volume throughout that period, or the market's going to be oscillating around doing not a lot. The fourth period is the 7:30 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. Now that's just kind of when everyone gets back from lunch in the US. I mean, I'm talking generally here, and we get an additional movement, maybe one direction or the other. So we either get a bit of an extension, or we get a bit of a stall, or something different happens. And the final part is 8:30 till 9 o'clock, and that's the last 30 minutes of trade at 9 p.m. UK time. And if you know, and you probably will know if you don't, go and Google it. The last 30 minutes of the day for the S&P 500 has outperformed massively any other period in the day over the past year, maybe even 2 years. There's even a guy on Twitter who's got a joke parody account about a 3:30 ramp. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's been there for such a long time. Not so much anymore, but anyway, the point is it's split up into 5 key parts. Now, why is this? I don't know, but and the times do tend to change. We used to have it used to be like a 3:30 peak, and you have to adjust it to suit. But at the moment, this seems to be working. And let's have a look exactly, what's going on and why. So let's look at today. I've shaded these out and kind of hopefully you can see what's going on. So the first zone is there, then the second zone's there, etc. But look how often you get turning points at these zones. Now I'm going to obviously do today. I'll do a couple of days as well so we can see. It's never going to be perfect, but it works well. Little drive from that first zone period, and then we get to put a low in at that point. Then from the zone 2, we end up putting a high in around that European close time. Fine. And we then drift for about, what's that, about an hour or so, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. We just chop around doing not a lot. Then we chug into gear, and then we kind of get a nice trend and pushing on to there. The penultimate segment doesn't do quite a lot, breaks out high, fails, comes back, and then in the final half an hour, we get a little bit of selling and some profit taking from the day. By the way, just as a little bit of a side note, look at the trend line today. Beautiful. After yesterday's video, this was absolute textbook. If you watched yesterday's video and were looking at the trend line today, then this would have been a very good day for you. So that was today. Let's look at again how often this occurs. These kind of pivot points that we get, and you can see. Look, the high point here was around that 330s. It's a 5-minute candle, by the way, 5-minute candlestick chart. Pushed lower, came back up, peaked there for at least, and then another 30 minutes or so, 10-25 minutes, and then we oscillated around. Then we got the 4:30 close about here, which then kicked us into a kind of a small uptrend, and then we changed a little bit again here, and then the last half an hour was just a bit choppy on that time. Let's move on again. And you can see on a downtrend day, you get the same kind of thing. The push lower for the first half hour, stalls for a bit, and then this is a proper trend day, and we chug right into a good move. Look what the peak of the extension of the trend is. It's at that 4:30 time zone. So that's when you get the sort of institutional chugging in. There's the extreme. Then it chops around a little bit, and this, of course, was a pretty heavy day anyway. So we got another leg lower, but look where that ended up being a low. At that 7:30 period, at the 7:30 till 8:30 kind of counter trend attempt, and then this instance the last half an hour was just completely mixed. Let's move on again and look at some other stuff. Even on a quiet day, you can see there the 3:30 high, the 3 o'clock high was about there, give or take 5 minutes, drifted. When the Europe closed, we sort of went into a slightly down move, but you can just see, I mean, I can go on and on, but my point is, and look how exaggerated this one is. European close, smack, here we go. Then the selling just kicked in. And, this doesn't happen all the time, but it's a good way of kind of framing your day, and even here as well. It's a good way of framing the day, and it's a good way of segmenting the day off. And also if you're in a trade, you can then look to at least hold it till that time period. If you know that very often, the European close is when we get a turning point, or the 7:30 or 3 o'clock, whatever it may be, then maybe it's going to give you the conviction to hold the trade. Another great example here, a little push lower here, that was a low to high in that time zone, chop, and then move around, and a little bit of a scare in the last 30 minutes. The point is it's structuring your day. Anything that helps you structure the trade and brings in boundaries is great in my eyes. So it's worth looking at and worth doing. Obviously, if you're trading currencies 24 hours, you've got to adjust to suit. Maybe you're going to include some Asian session and what have you, and your times are going to be different. But this seems to be working quite well, these kind of time zones, if you're day trading the Dow specifically, or the S&P 500, or the SPY ETF. So just a little idea for you. As I say, I got this idea from the guys in the pit, some of the books I read from the guys in the pit, and from it's just some webinars. It was from the guy who used to do a squawk in the pit as well, all that sort of stuff. So this is not a new concept, but it works and it's good. Anyway, had a great trading day today, guys. Let's just quickly look at the pound, because that has just come up to that little trend line there and just tickling around. Where are we? We've got all those indicators and stuff on. I have to pull these off. Anyway, that looks interesting. That's coming up to some decent levels here. Look at the 15-minute is the one I want to see. Look at this downtrend. We're coming right up to it about here, and we're just hanging around it. So do we turn down and try and retest these lows again? It's going to be interesting. So there's lots of stuff going on. Hope you had a great trading day today, guys. Looking forward to tomorrow, and I will be back with another video tomorrow. Take care.